Hello, Haima. Namaste, dear.
Good evening and namaste, Brother Shankara.
Good evening, dear.
How are you today? You're doing good.
Good day?
So you will be going back to the center, Vedanta Center, your home,
No,
in few
not,
days.
not for another month.
Oh, really? They planned it for one more month. That's good. Maybe it's good. That way you will be stronger by that time.
I don't know about that. But in
You,
any event, that's how it's happening.
yeah. One day at a time, I guess, right?
Absolutely. And mother's
Yes.
will be done.
Her grace.
I
Yes.
put everything at her feet.
On her feet.
And
That's
so whatever happens must be seen as her grace.
yes, that's right. That's right. Byron. That's Brahmadas.
Ah, hello, Brahmadas.
Hey guys.
Was Bhagavan. Hello, Bhagavan Das.
It's actually Brahmadas, Brad Byron. I see his name.
That's correct. The same Zoom seems to come up for my work, and when I do a work Zoom meeting, they don't know who Brahmadas is. I have to change it to Brad.
So it's Brad Byron Brahmadas. Very good.
That's correct.
Right.
So someone who has a clock that they can keep an easy eye on, please
Sure.
let me know when it's 7:30.
We will. We got 6 more minutes.
There's Triguna. Good evening, Triguna, dear. Namaste.
Oops, you lost a connection.
Here she comes back.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, namaste, dear.
How are you feeling?
Really feeling quite well, thank you.
Good, good. Nice to hear that. It's a relief.
And you, how are you feeling?
I am fine. Aging is part of life.
That's right.
Yes, we do it as gracefully as we can, don't we?
Yes. This time my mic is working?
Yes, it's working fine.
Good, good.
You know how to mute, Triguna, right?
Yeah, you told me that, but I won't do much
Yeah.
with that.
Once we start, then you can mute. That way we won't hear any noises, background noises of other house or our movements or anything.
Right. So slash it on the mic.
The mic
Right?
is, yeah, but that's when you need to mute later on, in few minutes from now.
Yeah.
You know how to do that, right?
Yeah.
I know this technology uses.
Yeah. No fun.
Right. It's not easy sometimes.
Not. Some people can handle it. I can't.
You're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty.
Yeah. Well,
You're doing good. Are you on the cell phone by chance?
I'm always on the cell phone. Yeah.
You are on the cell phone. I think there is a mute there too, on the side corner or
Yes. Yes.
on that one later in a couple of minutes from now. That's all. That's all you need to do.
All
Say,
right.
we everybody mute.
Oh, Cindy.
Hi. Hello, Cindy. Cindy.
Hello, Bhagavan. So far, our reader hasn't shown up. I'm sure Haima will fill in for us.
We got 2 more minutes, Brother Shankara. We still have time.
Being spied on
By whom?
by a big toad.
Oh, well, good for you. Good for the big toad.
Yeah, you know how like a cat, you change the litter box, they're going straight in it.
Hmm?
It's a toad's the same way. You clean up his little swimming pool and get the dirt out of his bowls, and here he comes right out, filling right back.
Well, I'm sure you enjoy it. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep those toads.
Oh yeah, I just do it because it makes them happy, you know.
Right.
Now it's your time, 7:30, Brother Shankara.
Okay. Om Hari Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu. Sahano Bhunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavai. Tejasvina Vaditamastu. Ma Vidvishavai. Om Shanti. 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 Om. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto thee, unto us, and to all your beloved children everywhere. Well, good evening, everyone. Namaste, and welcome to our Wednesday evening class on the very estimable book, Realizing God, a very dense volume of the talks given by Swami Prabhavananda, collected by his disciple Edith Tipple or Nalini, and she edited them together so that any talk that had been given during that period on the same subject, the very best of what was in that talk would appear. It's really quite a book. I encourage anyone who hasn't had a look at it to at least give a look at the preview on Amazon or wherever it is that you go for your books, and see what you think. Any comments or questions or concerns from our previous session?
I have one comment.
Yes, dear.
Some crazy person hung that nice thing behind you sideways.
Oh, it isn't hung the right way?
It should be.
90 degrees to the right.
I can't believe I didn't see that.
It was Cindy who hung it up.
I can't believe I didn't see that.
Well,
I'm losing my touch.
I'm sure it's better than the bare wall, and it can be fixed.
Again. Sorry.
Well, I don't think there's anything to be sorry for. I'm just glad it's there. It's better than the bare wall. So anything else from anyone? Hello, Shailesh. Good evening. All right. Well, who's
Good
going
evening.
to serve as our reader?
Sorry, I'm driving.
You can start the reading. That would be you, Haima, I guess.
Yeah, that's right, Brother Shankara.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Shailesh. Do you want me to start, Brother Shankara?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good evening and namaste, everyone. We are on page 36. We stopped on the top 4 lines of the previous paragraph, but I'm going to start from the previous page, 35. It connects better to the one I'm going to be reading. So is it okay, Brother Shankara?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, page 35, the last big paragraph. That's where, from a common sense viewpoint, we find that all religions have a tremendous life power in them. For not one of these great religions has died. They are still living because each of them has the truth. Vedanta and Buddhism, the most ancient religions of the world, have both recognized always, from a beginningless time as it were, the liberty of all humanity in regard to religion. Swami Vivekananda says in this connection, it has been proved to the world that holiness, purity, and chastity are not exclusive possessions of any church in the world, and that every system has produced men and women of the most exalted character. In the face of this evidence, if anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and the destruction of others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart and point out to him that upon the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of their resistance, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension. Do you not see what is happening today? I would say that either every existing church will have to recognize this truth, or it will die out. It cannot live. Sri Krishna, centuries back, in the Bhagavad Gita pointed out, I am the thread that runs through all these pearls. Each pearl is, as it were, a religion, and the Lord God is the thread that unites them. Before we consider the concept of unity and wherein lies the unity, let us also note the differences that exist. Thus, we shall be able to determine where the unity lies. Every religion is divided into 3 parts: philosophy or theology, which presents its hopes and sets forth basic principles; mythology, philosophy by legends and lives of saints; then ritualism or symbology. Now let us consider these one by one. First, every religion has a different conception of theology and philosophy. There are divergent opinions because they're only opinions. Only one theology, one doctrine would be a death to religion itself. Without freedom of thought, no growth is possible in any department of life. For instance, motion is possible only when there is a friction. Opposing thoughts create thoughts. It's a good thing that there are many philosophies, many theologies. But in this connection, let me point out a teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. He made a pun on the Bengali word dal, which has two meanings. One is sect, the other scum. So he said, dal grows on a stagnant pond. Let there be sects. But if there is sectarianism, that is, my ism is the only ism, then it has stunted growth. And what happens? It dies out. Now let us take mythology. Of course, a Christian would say, my mythology is history, not legend. And a Hindu would say, let me read this. Of course, a Christian would say, my mythology is history, not legend. And a Hindu would say, my mythology is history, not legend. Let me give two examples from these two religions. Jonah was swallowed by a great fish, and he stayed in its stomach for 3 days. Then the whale spat him out, and Jonah carried on his mission. This is history. Now, in Hindu legend, Sukadeva is a well-known saint and the narrator of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the mythology, you read that this Sukadeva was in his mother's womb for 16 years. And when he was born, he was a young man of 16. This is history. Now let us consider ritualism. The Hindus worship a symbol called Shivalinga, the symbol of the impersonal Brahman united with Shakti, or the mother power. Non-Hindus, especially Christian missionaries, preach that Hindus worship the phallic symbol. Now you take the Christian ritualism of what you call the sacrament, communion. You take bread and wine. The bread is the flesh of Christ, and the wine is the blood of Christ. To Christians, it's wonderful because they consider that they are having Christ within themselves so they can commune with him. Wonderful. But to a non-Christian, do you know how it appears? Cannibalism. So is there no common ground for the religions of the world? Most Christians believe we can all meet in the holy personality of Christ. And there are Hindu Vaishnavas who believe that without worshipping Krishna, you can never be saved. What are we to do? Let Krishna and Christ fight it out. Let me quote what this same Krishna taught in the Bhagavad Gita. When goodness grows weak, when evil increases, I make myself a body. In every age, I come back to deliver the holy, to destroy the sin of the sinner, to establish righteousness. From this, we can understand the Hindu ideal that it is the same God, the same being, who is born in different ages under different names and forms.
So would you please read Krishna's promise again?
Definitely, Brother Shankara. I will go back to, let me see.
When goodness decreases.
Okay, when goodness grows weak, when evil increases, I make myself a body. In every age, I come back to deliver the holy, to destroy the sin of the sinner, to establish righteousness. From this, we can understand the Hindu ideal that it is the same God, the same being, who is born in different ages under different names and forms.
And
And if we take the words of all these great ones,
hold on, just a moment.
sure, go ahead.
And so we can understand that it is this one being that is born out of compassion, time and again, always with us. And so we don't need to concern ourselves so very much about which of the images or personalities we worship. Let the one to which our heart inclines be the one that is our chosen ideal. And if we get some guidance from a teacher, well and good. But it is, as Krishna says in the Gita, all you need to do, all you really need to understand is who I am and what my task is, and you will not be reborn. I think he says that. I don't remember which chapter, but it's there. That all you need to do is understand who I am and what my task is, and you will be saved. In his own way, Christ says the same thing. So know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The truth of Christ's being and the truth of his teachings. So any other comments or concerns or questions about any of that? I stopped us because this is such a crucial idea, that the divine presence is always with us, especially when we need them.
You know, coming from the background of my family being, deep South Protestant, this is all just, we're all on the hell train. But, to me, it's just counterintuitive that there would only be one manifestation of Christ at one point in history to one culture. And I try to explain that people have been talking about the same God for thousands of years in every culture from the beginning of humanity. But, it wasn't invented 2,000 years ago,
Precisely.
But they can't hear it.
Well, there's no sense trying to talk to him about it, because really it is not. Swami Prabhavananda was very explicit about this. He had actually an experience on a train from Los Angeles to New York. He didn't travel often. And on this particular train trip, there was a Catholic priest who, discovering who he was, they met in the smoking car. There was such a thing in those days. The priest began to mock him. Well, the Swami was young and still capable of losing his temper. And so he lost his temper. And over a course of a couple of days, he said, I destroyed this man's faith. I heard him weeping in his bunk at night. They slept in one of those cars that had bunk beds. He said, I heard him weeping and crying to Christ, to God, to save him because he'd lost his faith. And he said, better not to try to talk to anyone about these things. You're not going to convince them of anything, and you will only do them harm, and by that, but you do yourself harm. So your experience is right in line with what this Swami said Bhagavan does. There just isn't any hope in trying to explain how counterintuitive it is to an intelligent mind. Because they see themselves as intelligent also. Anything else from anyone? All right, then please read on, dear.
Yes, sure. And if we take the words of all these great ones superficially, we shall misunderstand. For instance, what did Jesus say? I am the way, the truth, and the life. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Superficially, he is the only one. Now again, Sri Krishna before him said, give me your whole heart. Love and adore me. Worship me always. Bow to me only, and you shall find me. Lay down all duties in me, your refuge. Fear no longer, for I'll save you from sin and bondage. Same words, identical words. And in this present age, what does Sri Ramakrishna say? I am the sanctuary. If a man gathers his whole mind and fixes it on me, then indeed he achieves everything.
And that is a promise on which we can rely, those of us who are followers of Sri Ramakrishna. So please repeat what Sri Ramakrishna said to us.
I will. And in this present age, what does Sri Ramakrishna say? I am the sanctuary. If a man gathers his whole mind and fixes it on me, then indeed he achieves everything.
And when he says he achieves everything, he means exactly that. He assures that you achieve everything. If not during your lifetime, we're promised at the moment of death, you're given everything, that is to say, the full experience of samadhi and the understanding that you will not return to human form unless and until you decide to do so in a spirit of service. Anything else from anyone about that?
Hi, everyone. I'm here in South Dakota, and Jaime and I were in Chicago in August, and one of the talks they had was about this very thing, about the different manifestations of the avatars.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought up a great point that one of the unique qualities that Ramakrishna has is that we have a photograph of him. We know exactly what he looks like and that he existed. And that's a very unique form. And everyone else, we have only imaginations of what these people look like. So I thought that was a really wonderful point about the significance of Ramakrishna as a modern day avatar during our
Yes, I agree. I always thought that the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are very beautiful, but none of them mention what he looks like at all. So we really have no idea.
Well, just like with the Buddha and Christ, a lot of those were written hundreds of years later. And whereas in Sri Ramakrishna, it was literally written by people who directly knew him, so.
From day to day, yes. We're reading it on Tuesday evenings, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, as set down by his disciple M. And it is a unique spiritual and scriptural document. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, just as was pointed out so delightfully, the picture of the Master and of Holy Mother and of Vivekananda and of Brahmananda. All of these people we have. The Holy Mother actually remarked, you have no idea how fortunate you are that you can put on your shrine an image of the actual avatar, because name and form are not different. And so image and form are not different. That is the actual being of Sri Ramakrishna present in that picture.
You know, also in the picture of Sri Ramakrishna, the one that we generally that's called the temple pose, you know, if you really look at it very closely and look at his eyes, and then when you meditate, for some reason, if you focus here on his head like it was your head, I kind of think that's the hole in the wall.
I think you're right. Very nicely said. The metaphor that he's using is Sri Ramakrishna once said, there's a wall between phenomenal reality and spiritual reality. It's not a real wall, but it seems to be there. There is no difference, really. But he says there seems to be this wall. And what Bhagavan Das was referring to is Sri Ramakrishna says, I am the hole in that wall. And so we can see from our phenomenal reality into the reality behind and above through the being and personality and teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. Thanks as always. Anything else? All right. Please. Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know if I Namaste, brother Shankara, namaste everybody. I'm driving, so I cannot turn my video on. But I'm not sure if I need to share this, but I think I may have shared this with few people. As some of you were mentioning that there is no picture of Christ and how it looks like. I have an experience, a very intense experience, a very clear and very deep visitation from Jesus, from Christ. And this was in December first week of year 2000. And I had a very clear vision, visitation of Jesus, and I could see his face very clear, count his hair on his beard and everything. So, and then after 2 weeks, I came to the Vedanta Center for the first time. So that was 3rd week of December 2000. And the picture we have in the shrine is the exact picture I saw. That was him I saw. So next time when you visit, the picture you're going to see, that's my own experience. This is not from anywhere else, but my
And
own. So I
that's
just
the
want to
picture
share
where
that.
he's meditating in his yoga posture, right? With the
Yeah.
animals around him. Okay.
No, the one which is in the shrine.
The one that is on the same level with Vivekananda.
Correct.
Looking at the
Next to
side.
Buddha. On the next to
On the
Buddha.
left is the Buddha.
Yes.
On the right is.
And whenever I visit the shrine, I always bow down to that picture because, we are all connected from previous lives, and that's how it is.
What a wonderful experience, Shailesh.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? All right, dear, please read on.
Okay. We Vedantists firmly believe that each one of these great ones is right. If you follow Christ, you will reach the same goal as if you follow Krishna or Ramakrishna. All roads lead to Rome, but Rome must be your destination. The ideal, the goal, must be fixed in your mind, and that goal is to realize that which is eternal among us and non-eternals of life. To that end, the harmony of all religions, or the ideal of universality, is not in philosophy or theology, not in mythology, not in ritualism, but in our search for God, the ultimate reality, and realizing it. I'll read this one more time, Brother Shankara. We Vedantis firmly believe that each one of these great ones is right. If you follow Christ, you will reach the same goal as if you follow Krishna or Ramakrishna. All roads lead to Rome, but Rome must be your destination. The ideal, the goal, must be fixed in your mind, and that goal is to realize that which is eternal among us, the non-eternals of life. To that end, the harmony of all religions, or the ideal of universality, is not in philosophy or theology, not in mythology, not in ritualism, but in our search for God, the ultimate reality, and realizing it. None of us today can properly maintain that we live within the boundaries of one religion, one culture, and one nation. Through the progress of modern science, time, space, and geographical limitations have become completely revolutionized. In a way, this has forced us to become intensely aware of the cultural habits of other people. And it has opened our eyes to the fact that there are other religions, other faiths, other ways to approach the same Godhead. Unfortunately, there are still some who believe that theirs is the only true religion, and nations where nationalism is very strong. Today, many churches emphasize loving one's neighbor and doing good to others. But does that work? They cannot live together in a family peacefully. And why can't they? Because they do not love the Lord. Unless you learn to love the Lord, unless that becomes your ideal, it's not possible to love. When there comes that love for the Lord within your heart, love will overflow for all mankind, because you will learn to see that one God, one Brahman, one self in every being. If I hurt you, I hurt myself and I hurt God. If I hate you, I hate God and I hate myself. That is the understanding we have to come to. In order to come to that understanding, we have to devote ourselves completely to realizing, to experiencing God. This does not mean that you give up everything, but that in every action, you learn to see the presence of Brahman, the presence of God. Always keep the ideal. Love your wife, love your husband, love your children, love your neighbor, knowing that it is the one God that is dwelling in every being. Then is it that love will really come to you? I will quote one passage from the Upanishads. Brahman may be realized while yet living in the ephemeral body.
Ephemeral.
Ephemeral body. Brahman may be realized while yet living in the ephemeral body. To fail to realize him is to live in ignorance and therefore subject to birth and death. The knowers of Brahman are immortal. Others, knowing him not, continue in bonds of grief. Buddha pointed out that the practicality of religion is to go beyond all suffering and misery, which you can only do by experiencing the ultimate truth. In this particular age, Sri Ramakrishna came to experiment and experience that same truth of God. We find his disciple Vivekananda, when he was a young boy, had one question: "Sir, have you seen God?" Sri Ramakrishna said, "Yes, I have seen him, and I see him more clearly and definitely than I see you, and that is religion." Religion needs just two hypotheses. One is God is. The other is What is the proof? Chaos and confusion arise when religion is based on faith, on what somebody said. As Swami Vivekananda told a disciple, give me what you know. What matters what Christ said or Shankara said? Tell me what you know. That is the point in religion. God is.
Now, this is an interesting story. Swami Vivekananda did not have many disciples. One of them was named Swami Sadananda. Swami Sadananda was fond of quoting from these two sources that Haima just mentioned. And so he was, whenever he was in a discussion, he would quote from these sources. And finally, one day, Vivekananda interrupted him and said, "That's all very well and good what you can quote to us, but what do you know?" Emphasizing this test of experience. You can quote from the scriptures and the sayings and the teachings of others until the moon turns blue. But your words won't have any real power or effect unless that power and effect comes from your own experience of the truth of what you're saying. This is why there are so few real teachers. And of course, we're listening to one as we're listening to the words of Swami Prabhavananda, who was pretty well recognized during his lifetime as a realized soul. Anything else from anyone before we read on? All right, dear.
As Swami Vivekananda told a disciple, give me what you know. What matters what Christ said or Shankara said? Tell me what you know. That is the point in religion. God is. And the proof is that he can be known and experienced until and unless God reveals himself to you. There's nobody who can know and talk about God. Yes, he can be known. He can be seen. You can experience the truth of God. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that God that you are seeking is your very self. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that God that you are seeking is your very self. It's possible for everyone to see him, to know him, to realize him. No human being can enjoy the pleasure of the senses as intensely as a pig or a dog. Humans are born for something else, and that is to know the reality. What is reality? That which is and never is not. Everything else today is, tomorrow is not. It's only when we have the vision of God, the experience of God, that there is fulfillment.
Now, there is the definition.
Mm-hmm.
That which never is not.
Mm-hmm.
That which is eternal, infinite, unchanging. That is not found in the ephemeral world. So I'm going to ask Haima to read that again.
Sure.
This is the definition of knowledge of Brahman. Brahman is, by definition, infinite, unchanging, and eternal. But those are just words. The actual knowledge, capital K, or state of realization of Brahman, transforms us utterly. Well, transforms those who have achieved it utterly. I don't want to make it seem as if I'm among those. So please read it again, dear.
Sure. What is reality? That which is and never is not. Everything else today is, tomorrow is not. It's only when we have the vision of God, the experience of God, that there is fulfillment. Then we are satisfied forever. You have to reach that here and now. When one realizes God, one can understand the scriptures, because there are many teachers in many scriptures who have known God. They speak differently sometimes. There seem to be contradictions. For instance, you will find God is defined as personal, as impersonal, as having attributes, again as attributeless, as having forms, and again as formless. When Sri Ramakrishna was asked, his answer was, go to the neighborhood of God and you will find that all contradictions meet there. In other words, as long as we're trying to understand God outside of religion, as philosophers sitting in chairs, philosophizing about God, we will never come to any understanding. We have to be inside of religion and practice spiritual disciplines to struggle. We have to come to the neighborhood of God. Now we're moving on to next subchapter, God,
Hang
Soul,
on, just
and
hang
the
on.
universe. Sure, Brother Shankara. Your comments.
Of course, this is our lifelong struggle. This is our lifelong objective, to come into the neighborhood of God, to lose our attachment to that which is finite, changing, and increase our attachment to the reality of our being, which we only discover by turning within. This has been said over and over and over. But unless and until we do it, we will remain attached to the aspects of phenomenal reality that we like, and averse to those aspects of phenomenal reality that we don't like. So which are we going to choose? It's our choice. And as was pointed out some paragraphs back, those who make the choice for phenomenal reality are born again and again and again. Those who make the choice for the capital R reality become free from rebirth. Anything at all from anyone? All right, you were just about to introduce a new subhead, dear.
I just want to make one comment, Brother Shankara. The Sri Ramakrishna said that God that you're seeking is your very self, which is God is within all of us. And then this little contradictory thing, we have to come to the neighborhood of God. We're already in that neighborhood, but it's just that we have to realize through our spiritual practices, I believe. Is that what it is? That this,
Yes, we
right? He's
precisely.
in us.
We're in the neighborhood, but we don't know it.
Yes, we're in the neighborhood, but we don't know it, that he's within us. And many, but we're learning in our group here, our spiritual
We're learning, and we're
being
learning our daily spiritual practices.
Well, you
right.
know, that's what makes it so difficult for a lot of other people that are not, you know, Buddhist or Hindus, is they really don't follow you when you're shifting levels of reality that you're talking about, you know. And so, yeah, each, you know, different non-dual and dual and all have their own separate reality, and they're both true. So, you know, other, you know, people most people are like rooted in what they, they call the concrete world. And, you know, they don't think in terms of multiple realities.
It's because it's not explained in the churches and temples or any places where we go to worship. But actually, we're worship on the divine within ourselves when we do the worship in our house. We don't even have to go anywhere once we realize that God is within us, me and you and you and you, everybody else.
Well, I don't know if you know who Ajahn Chai is, but he was one of the great forest monks of Thailand. And, they would have wandering monks that would go off into the jungle. Some of them were never seen again, but they would go off in search of the Dharma, and then years later, some of them would show back up and he asked them, well, did you find it? And, and the ones that did find it had realized it was here all along, that they didn't need to wander in the forest, the jungle for years.
Exactly.
Yep, we find these indications over and over and over. Anything else from anyone? All right, dears.
Next subchapter is God, soul, and the universe. Opinions differ because whatever you express in the relative world is relatively true. All difficulties arises when we consider our opinion to be the only opinion and that what we say is the absolute truth. Nobody can express in words any truth that is absolute, and relative truths are apparently contradictory. But we find a harmony, a conciliation, if we go to the heart of religion, to the heart of truth, then apparent contradictions melt away. To quote Vivekananda, we never move from falsehood or from error to truth, but from lower to higher truth. To quote Vivekananda,
The meaning of this.
sure, Brother
It
Shankara.
means that the phenomenal reality that we experience is not an untruth. As Adi Shankaracharya said, no, it's not an untruth. It's just a superimposition of a relative truth on the final or complete truth. So this is what Vivekananda meant when he said, we don't move from error to truth. We move from lower truth to higher truth. And this is very important for us to realize because it's too easy a trap for us to feel this strong aversion to our relative truth. And we just must understand its nature, that it arises and passes away. It doesn't fit the definition of capital T truth, which is unchanging, eternal, infinite. It's just the opposite of all those things. But that doesn't mean that it is still not the divine being at play, as they say.
I really like the way that's worded, going from a lower truth to a higher truth.
Yes.
Because to me, it's a clearer thing. There's a story of, where some of the people were questioning the Buddha's teachings because they were contradictory from one person to the next. And he explained it as if a person's fixing to run off in the ditch on the right-hand side of the road, I tell him to go left to get back to the center of the road. Person on the left's fixing to go in the ditch, I tell him to go to the right. And he's telling them to go to the center, to a higher truth. And it may be contradictory from one person to the other, but it just depends on the truth that they're coming from.
Precisely. What an elegant metaphor for the Buddha to use. These great teachers are very skilled at producing these elegant metaphors to explain what seems otherwise very difficult to understand. Thank you for that. Anything else from anyone? Okay.
All opinions, all doctrines, and theological ideas can be reduced to three schools of thought: dualism, qualified monism, and non-dualism. Dualism is the idea that God and insentient matter, together with sentient beings, are separate and distinct, that God is independent, and insentient matter and sentient creatures are dependent upon God. In other words, the material of the universe and God are separate, but they both exist eternally. And the material cause of the universe, Prakriti, which is made of the gunas, the three energies, and God are separate. However, God takes hold of Prakriti and creates the universe of mind and matter. Of course, in Christianity, God creates the universe out of nothing. In the Upanishads, we read, "In the beginning was God, was Brahman. He willed to be many, and out of himself he issued forth this whole universe." From Chandogya Upanishad. But nowhere in Indian philosophy is to be found any beginning to the universe. It's eternal, beginningless and endless. There is a beginning to a cycle, there is evolution, and there is involution, but creation is infinite. There can be no exhaustion. According to dualism, because of ignorance, people do not feel they are dependent on God, but think they are independent. Accordingly, they become mixed up with sowing and reaping and birth, death and rebirth, until they learn to depend upon the Creator, God. Those who surrender themselves to God attain liberation. Qualified monism points out that God, matter, and soul are not separate, but distinct. To quote the Upanishads, as the web comes out of the spider and is withdrawn, as plants grow from the soil and hair from the body of man, so springs the universe from the eternal Brahman. Mundaka Upanishad. In other words, he is the efficient cause as well as the material cause of the universe. He has become the universe, has transformed into the universe, and the relation between the universe of mind and matter, of sentient and insentient, is that they are the same. There is the ocean and there are waves. Waves are not the ocean. Waves are part of the ocean, but they are not separate from it. Similarly, human souls and all creatures are parts of that infinite being. God is defined as Sat, truth, existence. God is defined as Sat, that is truth, existence, Chit, that is knowledge or consciousness, and Ananda, which is bliss and love. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Qualified monists consider these to be attributes of God, but non-dualists consider them one with God. Existence itself, not an attribute. According to non-dualism, creation has no absolute reality. It is the superimposition of something upon God. Brahman alone is real. You are Brahman, I am Brahman. One, not parts. The infinite cannot be divided into parts. The infinite cannot be divided into parts. So if God is dwelling within you, he is dwelling infinitely within you. There are not many souls, many Atmans, but one appearing as many. You see nothing but Brahman all the time. You live, move, and have your being in Brahman all the time. You are one with Brahman all the time, but through ignorance, you see yourself separate and different. This is forgetfulness of God. This is not, however, a complete illusion. Shankara does not deny any experience, but he says there are degrees of reality. For instance, a mirage has reality as long as you're seeing it, but when you go near, it disappears. Therefore, it has no absolute reality. Then again, dreams are real as long as you're dreaming. When you wake up, the dream breaks and you realize it was only a dream, that it had no reality. What we experience in our waking state has an empirical reality, but this again disappears when we experience or realize God. So what is the reconciliation between the three? Dualism, qualified monism, and non-dualism? Religion is an experience, not an opinion. It is not speculation, not theory. What guarantee is there that the conception of the God of the theologian tallies with the reality of God? None. Except, as the seer says, I've seen him, I know him, I've become one with him. If he says, now believe me, be careful. I've known the truth, but you also can know. That is the one proof for the existence of God, and it cannot be refuted. Mere authority is not enough. You have to have a personal experience. Then is it that you have known the truth? A real spiritual aspirant is one who is seeking to know, not intellectually, but by coming face to face with the reality. You see, the heart of religion is to see God, to know God. Where is that God? Where can we find him? That is the one problem. Study the scriptures. That's very important. Study theology or doctrines and try to understand intellectually. But whether you accept or do not accept makes no difference. Only when you want to find God for yourself have you begun your spiritual life. Believing in God will not give you freedom from suffering and misery. You have to wake up. You have to live in that blissful consciousness. Where is that consciousness to be found? Within your own soul. When you see God, realize God, you find him within your own being. The fact is that God dwells within each one of us, but we are not all dwelling in God. The difference between what you call pantheism and the teachings of Vedanta, either qualified monism or non-dualism, is that when Vedanta points out that God is everywhere in everything, it does not identify God with nature, and God does not exhaust himself in nature. He is immanent as well as transcendent. In other words, you are a part of that whole. You cannot be separated from God ever. But you are not aware of it because of ignorance. Non-dualistic philosophy is very simple. It has few doctrines. It is said, what has been spoken in hundreds of scriptures, I shall give in one sentence. Brahman alone is real. This universe is only an appearance. It has no reality, and the jiva, the individual soul, is none other than Brahman. In other words, there is one vast existence, and the nature of that is pure knowledge or consciousness, and pure love and joy. There are no attributes, knowledge itself, love itself, joy itself, truth itself. Buddha said, Brahman, I know, I dwell in that. The sage of the Upanishad says, I have known the truth which is beyond darkness. Not speculation, but a fact. Religion means to realize the truth. Sri Ramakrishna said, you cannot even say one, because when you say one, there is the idea of two. Christ taught the three schools of thought recognized by Vedanta. When he taught us to pray to the Father in heaven, Father is separate from us. That is dualism. When he said, I am the vine, ye are the branches, that is qualified monism. Then
I
again,
am the vine.
vine.
I
Okay.
am the vine. Ye are the branches.
When he said,
Very important.
I am the vine, ye are the branches, that is qualified monism. Then again, when he said, I and my Father are one, that is non-dualism. Please understand that this is not only an experience of Christ. I and my Father are one. It has been experienced by saints and sages in different countries, belonging to different religions and sects. It is a universal experience. I'll stop here, Brother Shankara. We have 1 minute, so you can give us some purport or any comments, expand on what we...
No, nothing
Okay.
bad. Just so very glad we're reading this and discussing it. This is the profoundest truth that can be given to us in modern English. Swami Prabhavananda was such a good writer and speaker, so it's very understandable to us. And as such, it is a great joy. And so we'll go past it just once as we read the book. But if you have the book, of course, you can go back and find those gems, as Bhagavan Das and others are pointing out. There are gems here and there that deserve to be inscribed on your heart. So, any final thought from anyone?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
if I may share a few minutes of my experience in the presence of Swami Vinayakananda ji. I think some of the people on the screen also had the opportunity to attend his talk at the center. I was not able to come that day because of my constraints from my surgery, but I was fortunate enough that the host, found some time for me to go meet with him in person. I was, and thanks to you, I've had the opportunity to be in your presence, so many devotees, and my own guru, Swami Sarvadevananda ji, Sarvapriyananda ji, so many other gurus, Swamis. This moment with Swami Vinayakananda ji was something that, I just felt unconditional love exuding the time that I was there. I felt there was if there was any distinction that, oh, he's a Swami, I'm this, and that was just my creation. But from his side, he was pouring out love, and I didn't have the need to put on any act whatsoever, and the way he looked, the way he smiled, the way he talked, he was just love exuding out. And I just kept gathering and gathering. And when I go back and even like I bottled as much as I could, and in that moment, my need for knowing, dissecting, it just seemed to like disappear. It was just pure love. I don't think I've experienced that kind of love too many times. It was just it's unspeakable. I mean, I can't have words. But one of the questions I asked him, and paraphrasing his reply, the ways to love God, he said there are 5 ways. One is as Brahman, non-dual. 2 would be as the Brahman that's pervading all manifestation. 3 would be Ishvara, the Ishta, that each one thinks is the power that's manifesting. Then 4 is the avatar, again, whichever one of the avatars we get attracted to. And 5 is the individual jivatma, as one finite way in which, again, the God expresses everything. So that's what I understood. But that experience for me was just, I'm so grateful for that. So it was grace. That's all I wanted to share.
Well, when one has become Satchidananda, as he has, then, of course, that's what one experiences. One experiences this. You characterize it as unconditional love. That's all that is, that comes from these great ones. And we can experience it from many of the great Swamis. And of course, we can experience it directly from the source, from Sri Ramakrishna, if we go looking there and ask for it.
You know, that is Sri Ramakrishna you're feeling through those great swamis.
Yes, exactly.
My whole thing I've been on lately about take away the will. The machine has no will, and that is Sri Ramakrishna coming through those swamis that you're feeling.
Precisely. It is that which Sri Ramakrishna embodied that is coming through these swamis. They have become the face and the voice of the eternal teacher, which is Sri Ramakrishna. Thank you, Swayam. Thanks for everyone who shared their experiences.
Actually, I have a question before we go, brother.
Yes.
When they say qualified, what exactly are they saying? Like qualified monoism. Are they saying that with attributes, basically?
Yes. That it is, that there is, it is not absolute. That which is not absolute is qualified. Qualified means, as you said, having attributes, having aspects that we can understand intellectually. So this is why qualified monism is separated. When Jesus said, I am the vine, ye are the branches, we can understand that. We can understand that there is a vine, and we are, as Jesus said, ye have not chosen me, I have chosen you. But we can also think behind, where is that vine rooted? That vine is rooted in that experience of I and my Father are one. But when it becomes available to us in the phenomenal world, it becomes qualified. And so Jesus said, I am the vine, ye are the branches. I have taken on the qualifications, the attributes of the avatar. And I am now feeding that into you as the branches. The branches are fed by the vine. Does that get it?
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
And I think you have understood. Anything else from anyone? All right, dears. As always, until next time, we have a Saturday class on Divine Grace, the book Divine Grace, and then we have a Sunday talk on the significance of mother worship, because it's coming up on the season of mother worship. So the title of this Sunday's talk, which will be offered from here, is The Significance of Mother Worship according to Swami Prabhavananda, who was himself a great mother worshiper. You'll find information about all that in the newsletter if you choose to pursue it. And so, until next time, it's so good to have been with you, to have shared this wonderful energy of congregation, of studying the art of spirituality together. So, Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga Durga Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. And may we go forward, secure in the knowledge that we are in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our mother and father. So may we all be well and in bright spirits. And until next time, unless there's any final thought from anyone, Jai Shri Ramakrishna Jai Ma.